Welcome to the second episode in a two-part Legendarium series about the incredible voyage of George Anson. In this episode, 1742 to 1744, we will talk about George Anson's pursuit of the Manila Galleon across the Pacific Ocean. Having rounded Cape Horn and sailing into the Spanish whale roads of the Pacific Ocean, Commodore Anson picked off one Spanish prize after another in late 1741 and early 1742. They included a 600-ton ship called the Santa Maria, heavy with 5,000 pounds worth of treasure. Anson also learned that the town of Paita in modern-day Ecuador housed a customs house filled with gold that would soon be loaded onto the Manila Galleon. Ever courteous, Anson chose to lighten their burdens. Under cover of night, Anson sent a landing party of 58 sailors in two pinnaces. They rowed 15 miles before being sighted by the Spanish. To make their numbers appear greater, they began shouting and pounding drums. Within minutes, the customs house and its cache of 30,000 pounds sterling fell into British hands, while the town's population, led by the mayor, fled into the hills. Before the Spanish could return, Anson sailed the rest of his flotilla into the town's harbor and demanded a ransom. When the mayor refused, Anson set fire to the town, sparing only 2 churches and sinking 5 Spanish ships within the harbor. Morale swelled, with even a lowly midshipman now bound to receive £100 from the vast prize money taken so far. Even better, Commodore Anson now hoped to intercept and capture the Manila Galleon, which carried the prized riches of the East. Unfortunately, the British flotilla now faced the doldrums, a time without wind where the ships just bobbed about on the open sea. Nonetheless, on February 19, 1742, Anson's scouting barge brought back word that the Manila Galleon arrived at Acapulco and would leave heavy with silver plate. Throughout February 1742, Anson blockaded Acapulco, but the coveted Manila Galleon never came, for it had likely been alerted to the British presence. Disheartened, Anson sailed for Chiqueton Bay northwest of Acapulco to take on badly needed water. Knowing the Manila Galleon could not be taken in the heavily fortified port, Anson instead sailed across the Pacific Ocean for Macau. Heavy storms lashed the ships, and the crew had to man the pumps constantly. A powerful gale snapped one of Anson's topmasts like a toothpick, while the others lost sails and rigging. Scurvy scythed the crew once more until Anson's flagship only had 30 men fit for duty. Finally, a miracle came. The Anson flotilla arrived at Tinian Island instead of Guam, 90 miles north, the latter being home to a powerful Spanish garrison that would have easily taken Anson prisoner. On Tinian Island, Anson instead found a single Spaniard living with several indigenous people who survived by hunting wild cattle. After taking the locals prisoner and forcing them to reveal the location of their animals, Anson's crew feasted upon hundreds of wild cattle and hogs, slowly regaining their health. Their good fortune ended on September 22, 1742, when a typhoon tore the HMS Centurion from her anchorage and blew her out to sea. Back on Tinian Island, Anson set to work fitting a remaining ship for the voyage to Macau, a Chinese city ruled by Europeans where he could trade freely. 2 weeks before he left, the HMS Centurion returned to the island, saved by the crew's remarkable seamanship. Their fortunes and spirits restored, the Anson flotilla arrived in Macau during November 1742. Despite generous bribes, Manchu officials did everything they could to slow repairs on the ship. Anson did not leave China until April 19, 1743. By then, most of the crew believed that Anson gave up on the Manila Galleon. Instead, Commodore Anson mustered the crew as soon as he put out to sea and gave a rousing speech, declaring he would take the Manila Galleon. His crew bellowed, "We'll have them, your honor, or go down with you in the ship." By May 20th, Commodore Anson arrived at Cape Espiritu Santo, where the Manila galleons made berth. There, Commodore Anson drilled his crew for hours each day, assigning the best shots to be marksmen amid the rigging, and ordered every available man, even cooks and storekeepers, to help man the 30 guns. Only 2 men served at each cannon instead of the usual 4, with a 10-man party going from gun to gun, bringing powder and balls. On June 20th, a midshipman sighted a Spanish galleon. The overconfident Spanish captain, having heard of the sickly crew that arrived on Guam, proudly hoisted his king's colors and gave battle to the British pirates. Anson's bow guns opened at 3,000 feet, scattering the Spanish on the deck as they threw cattle and lumber overboard to ready for action. Smoke enveloped both ships as the HMS Centurion's sharpshooters swept the Cobadonga's decks clear of men. As he drew closer, Commodore Anson replaced solid shot with grape, sweeping away 7 or 8 men with each blast. Dead and wounded littered the deck of the Cobadonga, turning the deck red with blood. Spanish gunners deserted their posts and scrambled down hatchways. When the Spanish captain took a ball to the stomach, the crew lowered Spanish colors. They lost 58 men, while Commodore Anson only lost 2. Silver valued at 300,000 pounds sterling went aboard the HMS Centurion. After selling the badly damaged Cobadonga in Macau, Commodore Anson set sail for home on December 15th, 1743. HMS Centurion anchored at Spithead in Great Britain on June 14th, 1744, with treasure worth more than 478,000 pounds sterling in her hold. It took 33 wagons to carry it from Portsmouth to the Tower of London. Commodore Anson continued his extraordinary career, becoming a baron after defeating the French fleet at Finisterre on May 3rd, 1747. Because of the support of the Duke of Newcastle, Anson became a 2-time First Lord of the Admiralty. His reforms included a reorganization of the fleet, a revision of the Articles of War, and the creation of a permanent Marine Corps. He died on June 6, 1762 at Moore Park, yet lived long enough to see his reformed fleet vanquish France during the 7 Years' War. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.